boxes, lifeless life that has no power, has nothing, but we say we're Christians, to a deeper life that truly changes you from the inside out, where you become the person that you were created to be. And so that takes a deeper step in walking with God. And many people are afraid to go deeper with God, but they don't realize that the best people they can ever be is the people that God intended them to be. So that's what I've been sharing about. And as I was reading through, I was going to be sharing today on the church of Laodicea, which is the seventh church that is written about in the book of Revelation in chapter 3. The seventh church, and it's sometimes considered the seventh church age, as in the church is going to go through these ages, and one of the last age is going to be the church of Laodicea, which is essentially a church that is lukewarm. It means that it has some of the good stuff, but the good stuff is not enough to really make any difference. And so it's this lukewarm church they're wealthy, they're self-sustaining in many ways, and they think they're okay, but God comes to them and says, you are actually not okay. You are much worse than you actually think. And that was the message for today, but that will be for next week. So if you want to come to that message, that's for next week. But in the process, I was reading through the book of Revelation. And as I was reading through the book of Revelation, which is the last book of the Bible, and it's a book that everybody needs to take care when they read it. But it's crazy. It's full of all these imageries. And for a moment, as I was reading it, it felt like I was transported into a whole other world. And most of us, if you're like, I don't understand what that means. Yes, you do. When I was, I like Superman. Right? I'm one of those kids who grew up and I was like the man, the Man of Steel. I liked Superman. And I remember when Man of Steel came out and went into the movie theater, and any of these movies, Avengers or whatever, these movies that are full of explosions and there's very little actual depth to it. It's just a lot of fake stuff going on. But for that moment, most guys, I don't know about the lady, but most guys, my wife would sit and watch that movie and be like, this is all fake. And I'm like, yeah, and it's boosh, 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 boosh. But you know what? The hardest part is coming out of the movies. Because you suddenly come out of the movies and it's like, it's almost dark or it's dark and maybe the birds are chirping and it's just all quiet, and then you have to go back to your mundane, ordinary life. And you're just like, man, you just came from that heightened experience and you were like, yeah, Superman, what about this? What were they showing there? And what was happening here? And it's like, I wonder what the next one's going to look like. And you have all this conversation and then you get back to your ordinary life. Or I remember the one time when Zambia, won the Africa Cup. That's like Canada winning, the
Stanley Cup.
No. That's like the Canada winning the Olympics or the Olympic gold or winning. Is there like a World Cup for hockey?
Yep.
Okay, World Cup, right? So something like that. But Zambia won the Africa Cup, and I remember I was preaching that day, so that sermon was really short, and because we're going after and seeing the game, and it was just this amazing thing, and it's like, whoa, we just won, and I'm sure all of you have experienced it. Some of you, it's been a while, since you experienced your team winning anything. But I heard that you might experience it this season, right? Faith, you guys have so much faith in the Oilers. But I heard they're doing good. But when you experience that win and that excitement, when your team has won, they've scored, it's like the whole room is like, it's like you're transported into another world. Like you forget about all of that until your wife says, hey, it's time to change the diaper. And then all of a sudden you're like dragged into this reality. And so we experience all these moments and times, whether it's watching movies or we're part of a great movement or a great team or you're part of the American elections and you're getting into that euphoria and that excitement and that whatever that thing is called. And then the point is reached finally. It's like, woohoo! Kind of like what happened to NDP in Alberta, right? You had all these people who are like, yeah. And then suddenly the euphoria kind of died out. And then reality strikes. And then you're like sobered up and suddenly you're like, oh, maybe this is not as good as we thought. And so we live in this world And one of the most amazing things as a kid growing up, I loved reading books. You know, I loved reading books because my family life was kind of a mess. And so I tried to escape in so many different ways. And one of the ways was reading books. Yeah. And when you could read a book and escape, and you could be lost in the secret garden. I have no shame in confessing that. And Charlotte's Web, and you could just get lost in the stories. And the stories, and get into the characters, and you get into this. And then your mom calls you for supper. Or says it's bedtime. And then it feels like you're being pulled out and you wish you could just stay in that place. We all long for another world in many ways. A different place. And we all have, there are people who are gifted, storytellers, that pull us into this world, that drag us, that create and paint these pictures, whether it's movies or it's songs. There's songs that you can listen to and they just take you into this place and you're like, oh man. And that's all what I call the echoes of eternity. That's what I call them. The echoes of eternity, whispering and whispering to a world, saying that there's more, there's more, there's more. But there is a storyteller. A very, very good storyteller. An incredible storyteller. I don't compliment the storyteller very much, but I'll compliment this storyteller on his storytelling. Because he tells a very convincing story. It's an incredible story. It's filled with imagery. It's filled with hopes. It's filled with all these things. It's got so many promises. It's got so many things, and we are drawn into it. And this storyteller is so good at knowing how you are and connecting you and making sure that your feelings are met. All this is a storyteller. It's called Satan. There is a storyteller who tells stories, who tells amazing stories. And he draws us into this world. He draws us into this life. Just like when you're in the movie theater, suddenly you're not thinking about whether you're going to work tomorrow or whatever. You're so drawn into that movie. I remember watching The King's Speech. Anybody remember watching The King's Speech? Man, I was hanging. I thought going to a movie about a speech. Come on, that's ridiculous. That's silly. But when I was there, I was just like, what is he going to say? Because he said, and he's touching the paper but I was so drawn into it that I just lost myself right there. I was so nervous. I could feel everything in me just tingling because I'm like, is he going to make a speech? Is he going to do a good job? And so these guys just draw us in. And we've got an enemy that draws us in into this story that he weaves, this story that he webs us into. And as I was reading Revelation yesterday, I'm reading the Bible, and it's so far out. I'm reading this book, and I'm like, what? This is so, there's nothing on this planet that I can even point to explain how to, the imagery that's in the book of Revelation, especially chapter 4 and 5, it talks about the throne room of God. And how the throne looks and what's around that throne. And I'm like, man, this is if I was to tell this, if somebody told me this when I was not a Christian, I would have said, some guy who wrote this was high on something. That's he was high on something, and that whatever he was high on was absolutely messed up, And so I was just like, it is so far, and yet the truth of the matter is that picture of Revelation is the truth. That is the reality. The reality is there is a throne. The reality is that there is a God who is immensely, so incredible. There are these beings that are moving around the throne. That day and night, these beings that they're described, I have a little cheesy video. Because I was looking for a video of somebody who might have, and this guy who was using like 80s graphics or something, created a video to try and show us what it looks like. And so I'm going to show you this little video. I have to warn you, his voice is a little bit, it's not very dramatic. It's pretty, but what I want you to do is I want you to catch a little bit of what it looks like, because I was reading this and I'm like, this is so far from anything that we see or understand every day, and yet this is reality. So I just want you to play that clip. Make sure the volume is high because it talks kind of low.
John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I looked and saw a door opened in heaven, and the first voice that I heard, like a trumpet speaking with me, was one saying, "Come up here, and I will show you the things which must happen after this." And immediately I was in the Spirit. And behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was in appearance like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow around the throne, in sight like an emerald. Around the throne were 24 thrones. On the thrones were 24 elders sitting, dressed in white garments, with crowns of gold on their heads. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like crystal. In the middle of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, full of eyes before and behind. And the first creature was like a lion,